Hi there, my name is JC. I am from South Africa. I was diagnosed with urethral stricture in 2015, though I actually already knew that I had the stricture from about 2009. I had an injury to the area, and I could see my urine flow decreasing steadily throughout the years. I just did my own research, went online, looked at the symptoms, and I could see that it was most likely urethral stricture. And that was then confirmed in 2015 by a doctor. As soon as I knew that I had the stricture, I immediately started researching different um, treatments, different cures, and nothing really looked very promising. I found Utarbasti actually quite soon in that journey, but I didn't go do it immediately. I first went and sought options from my local hospitals here in South Africa. And I actually ended up going to one of the hospitals that is known to have one of the best urology teams in the entire country. And so I went to them, very hopeful, thinking that I'm going to solve this problem. And I went through many different procedures, as probably a lot of you watching this have gone through. I had dilations, many of them, and I had a urethrotomy, but ultimately none of those things worked. Every time it would be a couple of months or sometimes even a couple of weeks, and the urine flow would start decreasing rapidly, start getting pain again in the urethra, irritation, burning sensation, urinary tract infections, pain in the bladder, pain in the lower back, kidneys, and it just wasn't great. And of course, those of you that have had any of these procedures, you would know that it is terribly uncomfortable and painful and just a very unpleasant experience. And the doctors will tell you, well, sometimes they won't, but they did tell me, and you can do your own research online, that the success rate for these procedures are very low. And in fact, that is what I found to be true as well. I had no success with these procedures, the dilations and the urethrotomy. But I continued to do them, even though I already knew about the Utarbasti. The thing was that the only information I could find about the Utarbasti was through Brahma Ayurveda and through starting email conversations with um, Dr. Narayan from Brahma Ayurveda. But still, I was skeptical and I was fearful. And my friends and my family, especially family, told me, don't go do this thing. There are doctors here, there are good urologists here. Just go do the more intensive procedures. But I didn't want to do anything more invasive because I was reading about the other Western procedures, and also, again, their success rates being very low, and also causing further complications and more pain and suffering. And so now I was in this I had to make a decision. Am I gonna do the more invasive procedures, Western surgical procedures, or am I going to take a leap of faith and go do the Uttarabasi in India? And so I was still contemplating this when it got to a place, I think around 2018 maybe, where it got really bad, and my urine flow decreased to the lowest it has ever been. And actually one day it was so bad that I could not urinate at all. Nothing was coming out, and the urine was just building up in my bladder and was starting to back up into my system. And so I had to rush to the hospital emergency to try and get that cleared out. And the doctor actually told my wife that if I had been maybe just a little bit later, like an hour later, or 30 minutes later, there's a very high possibility that I actually could have died on that day. And that was the moment, that I decided and realized, okay, I have to seriously do something here, whether it's the other Western surgical procedures or going to the otoplasty. And I decided in my heart And in my spirit, I knew that the Uttarabasti is what I needed to go do. I'm a big believer in natural medicines and curing things in non-invasive ways wherever possible. And so I took the leap of faith, and my wife and I went over and I booked the session with Dr. Narayan, and we went there. And I went to go do the Uttarabasti, and we didn't know what to expect. And I can understand anybody thinking of doing this. It can be scary, and it can be daunting, and it can be unsure of whether this is going to work or not. But now that I'm here, at the time of filming this video, it's 2025. So just over 5 years later. And I specifically actually waited to make this video for 5 years, because a lot of the other procedures, maybe it can be good and it can even last you maybe a year or 2 years. It can still be good, but then after that, flow rate will start going down and you'll have those experiences again. And so I waited 5 years now to make this video again. And I can honestly say that after 5 years, everything is still good. So we went to the hospital there, and the first impressions were really, really good. Walked into the hospital and it was clean, it was well set up, the staff, everybody was friendly and kind and inviting. Dr. Narayan and his wife and his family, everyone was so kind and so inviting. And one of the biggest differences I can note is all the other doctors and hospitals I went to here, Western hospitals, Western doctors, you're just another patient to them. You're just another number waiting in the queue to be treated. And the biggest difference was at Brahma Ayurveda with Dr. Narayan and his staff and his family. They really made me and my wife, who was with me, feel at home. And they genuinely care. You can feel there's a sense of care. They want you to get better. They want you to be healed. They're not just going to give you more drugs, more medicine to take away the symptoms. They want to get to the root of the problem and change it and heal you. And with that, they also subscribe things for your lifestyle, for your diet, a holistic way of looking at the health of your body. I arrived at the hospital, like I said, beautiful. The accommodation there was beautiful and clean and well set up, well stocked in all regards, for bathroom facilities, bedroom facilities, the hospital facilities itself. And the Uttarabasti process itself, wow, just in comparison to the other procedures that I had that were invasive and painful and uncomfortable and just not pleasant. And then afterwards you sit with the bag and the catheter inserted, and it's just a horrible experience. But the Uttarabasti is, compared to that, is so easy. It's so painless. There are still times when the catheter needs to be used to create that stretch, and that's still uncomfortable, but the doctors there are extremely gentle and careful, and once again caring about you every step of the way to make sure you're not in pain, you're not uncomfortable. But the actual process itself of the oils being inserted with the Uttarabasti is so painless. It's so easy, and you only have to do that once a day. And the procedure itself is maybe about 15-20 minutes, and then you release the liquids again, and then for the rest of the day you're fine. You can walk around, you can do your thing, you can walk around the town. We had a lovely time there, actually. It was like a bit of a vacation, bit of a holiday. We went to see all the sites around, and again, Dr. Narayan and his family were so kind and caring to us, also showing us around and showing us the different sites there and giving us advice on where to go and what to see. And that's it. 20 minutes a day, and the rest of the day you can carry on work, you can do whatever you want to do, and it's just so easy. And so I received, I think the first time was about 3 weeks of once a day, and my flow rate was back up to very, very high. I did experience after that coming home some inflammation and some decreased flow rate again, and there were some issues. And so um, I spoke to the doctor and we decided that I should come back for another sitting a couple of months later. And so I went back, and this time I just went for 2 weeks and I received sittings again. And after that time, I came back and everything was perfect. Um, and now, like I said, it's 5 years later and I have no issues. I don't think my flow rate will ever be like maximum 100% again, just because of the injury and the stubbornness of my stricture that I had. But I have a good flow rate now, better than any state I've ever had after any Western procedures, after months receiving those. And so I can live a normal, comfortable life. And I know that many of you out there living with this condition, I certainly came to the point where I was honestly having to start thinking about, can I live like this pain and this uncomfortability, not being able to urinate, constant urinary tract infections, having to be in and out of the hospital, doing all these dilations. I really had to come to the space where I had to contemplate, do I want to continue living like this, or am I going to take my life? And I know a lot of people suffering from urethral stricture have those same thoughts. So if that's you, I want to say to you today, don't even bother with the other Western procedures. And so I know doctors won't tell you this, and even the doctors at Brahma Ayurveda won't tell you this, because it's up to you to make your own decisions. But I'm telling you, don't even bother with those other things. Just go do the Uttar. You can get your stricture cured and you can go back to living a normal life. The sooner you do it, the better. I know it can be scary and uncertain because there's not a lot of information about it, but trust me, I've done it, and I did a lot of research about it as well. I found some medical journals that prove the efficacy of the Uttar, and I did a lot of talking with the doctor through emails and phone calls. I was probably very, very annoying talking to him so much to find out everything about the procedure, and I spoke to other people who had gone to do it to make sure before I went to do it. So I'm telling you now, if you're struggling with urethral stricture, or for that matter, any urological or proctological problems, I can highly, highly recommend Brahma Ayurveda, Dr. Narayan and his staff there at Brahma Ayurveda Hospital in India. Sooner you do it, the better.